So, welcome to this week's astrology. And this is a week where there is a lot of conflict and tension. It's been building, and that's because today we have our third and final meeting, at least for this interim period, of Mars and Pluto. Now, these two first met perfectly in November, right around the US election. The next time they met was early January, and they're back again. And it's almost like cleaning up business. This energy this week feels more like the energy around November than it does necessarily January. And that's because Mars is direct. It's debilitated in Cancer, so there can be a lot of frustration. And with its opposition to Pluto, it's this energy of things that have been withheld, things that we've maybe just ignored or not fully understood, or it hasn't really been a part of the public consciousness coming to light and truly moving into our collective awareness. Now, why that's so big is we have the Aries New Moon tomorrow. And the Aries New Moon is adding and pumping its energy into that opposition between Mars and Pluto. This is a moon that will oppose the Black Moon Lilith and Hecate, as well as square Mars and Pluto. So we're really going to feel that energy of conflict. And it's something I was talking about in last week's forecast. So if you haven't felt it yet, it is coming. What is really fascinating about this new moon is it's going to be in a nakshatra, a lunar mansion called Bharani. Now, that places the sun and moon right on the horns of the ram in the Aries constellation. And if you think of the horns and the way a ram uses its horns, it's to fight, to go up against something. But it also is this energy of also seeing where you're going up against something which you can't beat, where you're actually creating a fight and it's just not worth it. It's arguing with reality. And that's particularly the case because Mars is in Cancer at the moment. So normally this type of Aries new moon, it being the first new moon of this solar new year, would be one where it would be like, yes, act, move, dive headfirst into things. But while Mars is debilitated in Cancer and it rules Aries, it really feels like this is a week to wait, to practice the idea that sometimes the best action is non-action. And that can be really hard to digest, particularly with Mars opposed Pluto. It's kind of that energy of like the ego and the identity self needing to prove itself, or needing to be productive or busy and wanting to do or wanting to fight or wanting to stand up. But the universe saying, like, hold up, now is not the time. This is actually a new moon about the incubation of new ideas. In fact, the symbol of Bharani Nakshatra is the yoni, so like the womb. And I often think of that energy like the black hole at the center of the universe, the place of singularity from which everything physical manifests. And so if you can use that energy of like stillness and cultivating and sitting with the energy of inspiration. And also, as Bharani Nakshatra is the home of Shakti, as well as Yama, which is the god of rebirth and death, it's kind of this energy of like, how do I approach life in a more feminine way? How do I allow for a little bit of chaos? How might I use my intuition to know when it's the right time to act instead of the time that my ego thinks it is, instead of this kind of sense of like, I must always be pushing, and even the idea that it's good to push against circumstances, to somehow use our will to go against the divine will. This is a new moon really asking for us to know when to act and to even choose non-action, to choose not to act until we get a really clear sense internally and externally that it's time to express that will, knowing that it will then be in time with the divine's will and in time with cosmic timing. So just something to think about this week. Like there's a lot of conflict. It's really a week of knowing when to act and when not to. It's also a week of knowing when to fight and when, um, like when the fight is not actually the war. Like when that little fight is just going to cost you your peace and it's not actually going to win you anything big or anything that's really going to help with your life. So that's the start of the week. I also want to mention today, Mercury is moving into a part of Pisces called Revati. Now, Revati is the final lunar mansion, and Pisces is not happy. I'm sorry, Mercury is not happy in Pisces. It's not his home. It's way too intuitive for that very discriminating, intelligent mind. But what can happen between now and the 7th of May, while he's in Revati, is there can be a bit of closure that happens with communication, with discussions you might need to have. But a lot of this can also be at an energetic level. It's a time where conversations from the future can be brought forth to now, when things from the past can be dug back up. It almost can feel like that intelligence, that energy of communication is somehow in a time warp. That things are coming at you that maybe you weren't expecting to appear just yet. Maybe you're expecting them next year or the year after. There can be like a preempting of discussions around the future. It can also bring up a very strong dreams as well. And something that's really wanting to be drawn to a close as Mercury is in that final part of the zodiac. Now, that is like the big energy for that week is really the Mars Pluto opposition with Black Moon Lilith and Hecate and the Sun all tapping into it. So just be aware, like, it's not the easiest of weeks, but if we can use the energy to see, like to almost look at where the ego feels it has to act, where the identity is building itself off action, off conflict, off its resistance to other people, we can learn a lot about ourselves. And there can be a sense of liberation that comes with this week and truth. Now, on Saturday at the end of the week, Venus is going to conjunct Neptune. And Chiron will enter Aries. Now, this is in sidereal astrology, not in tropical astrology. So, first of all, I want to touch upon Venus with Neptune. This is a really beautiful energy. It's poetic, it's romantic, but it's also filled with false illusion. So, and it's not helped by the fact that Mercury, who would help us decipher that illusion, is sitting in Pisces as well. So I'd be saying, like, enjoy the romance, enjoy what blooms, and the poetry of that meeting, but just be really careful. Like, just be aware that what Venus is showing you might not be accurate. Like, she might actually be showing you the dream and the idealism that you're holding around love and holding around romance or holding around money and finances. That's just really not true. But it's almost like she's luring you into the dream so that that dream can be burst, so that reality can be understood. So as long as you're present with the energy, it can be used really well if you're an artist or you have a very strong creative energy within you. It's a great time to channel that. Um, but generally it's just like just be discerning, like enjoy it, be present, but also just be aware that this is a meeting that can kind of have us swept up in the illusion and in Maya, and in some cases can bring about a bit of pain as that bubble is burst. You know, we might project onto someone who we think we want them to be in a relationship, and then once these two move apart, we kind of get to see who they really are. It's that kind of energy. Now, Chiron moving into Ashwini, I'm going to have a full video, sorry, into Aries in the Ashwini Nakshatra. I will put a full video up about this and what it means. I think he's there through to 2032 in Aries. But Chiron is the wounded healer. And what's really beautiful about him moving into the beginning of Aries, which is Ashwini Nakshatra, is we have two healing energies meeting each other. It says to me that at a collective level and individually, there's something that's being resolved. And that might be your physical health. It could be maybe if you've been working with your own abandonment wound, because that's really what Chiron is about. You can find that there's a level of resolution that comes about. But I'll put more on that soon in a longer form video. But you might feel that shift on Saturday. So anyway, enjoy this week. If you want a little bit of extra support with the new moon, the Aries ritual and reading is live. The Aries New Moon ritual and reading is live. I'll put the details below, and with that, you'll receive a reading for your chart on where exactly Bharani Nakshatra is and what this is stirring up within you as some guidance, as well as the astrology forecast and a sacred practice working with Shakti to help ground and lay intentions with this energy. So enjoy this week and enjoy the idea that sometimes the best action is no action.